Well, shalom everybody, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to continue our journey going through the Mesillat Yesharim through the eyes of Rabbi Avigdor Miller, and we are still in volume 2 of his commentaries, his new translation commentary of this classic Jewish work. The work itself was originally written about 280 odd years ago by Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, and just that alone to have in your library and to be studying is a huge pot of gold, but to have now available to us that same work with the commentary by Rabbi Avigdor Miller is sort of 2 pots of gold for the price of 1, if that makes any sense. And so it's just absolutely mind-blowing, some of the things that are discussed in this series of books. And so I encourage you to, all of you, if you can, to go out and purchase all 4 volumes of Avigdor Mesillat Yesharim as soon as you can. And that way you can follow along with the book yourself as we go through, as you watch this video, as we go through. These are very important topics for a person to learn, no matter who you are. This video is for everyone. It's not, some say, well, this is essentially an Orthodox Jewish work. Why are we reading it? Because it deals with subjects that are applicable to everyone. If you are a human being, this is applicable to you. Now, there's a lot of stuff in here that, as you read, expectations that are the forte of the Orthodox Jew, but that's still very venerable to read because it's important to know what the priestly class of mankind's responsibilities are in various areas. And so, these guys are setting the standard, and it's good to see where their standard is. So we know where to go, what to do and what not to do. I hope I'm sort of clear on that. So we're up to page 216, and we're up to part 29 of chapter 11, part 29, and it is entitled Rechilut and Lashon Hara. Rechilut or Rechilus and Lashon Hara. Now, many of you know what Lashon Hara is. It is saying something that is true, but with some sort of bad, false, or negative motive. Maybe you want to undermine somebody in some way. Maybe you want them to diminish in the eyes of the person that you're talking to, and you're not lying about what they did, but you're mentioning it and you're talking about it in a way that is very derisory. So it's not, saying lies about a person necessarily, but it's about putting a person in a bad light before somebody else. So you can, you have your agenda fulfilled, whatever that may be. Now, Rechilut is something that I'm sure many of you are less familiar with. That is the notion of saying something to somebody that somebody said behind their back. So passing on news to somebody that somebody else said about them, that is not very positive. And so that is something we definitely should avoid at all costs. So there are various types of misuse of the tongue, and the overarching thing that we are trying to learn is Shimirat Lashon, which is clean speech, or the right way to speak. So this is what we're going to be looking at, and it is extremely interesting. Okay, so let's get into it. So the Mesillat Yesharim starts out by saying people are already aware of the severity of repeating things about other people. So that's Rechilut and Lashon Hara. And the extensiveness of their subdivisions, because there are very many. So there are very many sort of subdivisions of the wrong use of the tongue. A lot of people think this is a common sense subject and can get through life flying by the seat of their pants, but in actuality, nothing could be further from the truth. The laws of correct speech are quite lengthy and complex. And everybody speaks, well, nearly everybody, most people speak. Even if you're deaf, you will sign. Sorry, I don't know how to do sign language. So it stands to reason that this is something that we should spend significant time in learning. And if up until now you haven't been learning much about how to speak correctly, put it on your schedule. Put it on your schedule, and there are plenty of books out there by the Chafetz Chaim that will help you. So Rabbi Avigdor Miller says, people who have not studied these laws in detail think it's not complicated. When you study these matters in the books of the Chofetz Chaim, that is an affectionate nickname for a rabbi who did quite a lot of work in bringing to the fore all the laws of clean speech by going through with a fine-tooth comb anything and everything in the Torah and the Tanakh in general. So he's kind of the, I don't know, I guess he's the go-to person if you want to buy books in terms of actually learning to improve your speech. The very nickname Chofetz Chaim means he who desires life, or one who desires life, which was the name of his first major sefer on the subject. Because, if somebody can bridle their tongue, it will actually add lengths to your days on this earth. So, people say, would you like an elixir which will give you long life, or drink from the fountain of youth? And everybody will say, yeah, I want that. If you simply say, just guard the things that come out of your mouth, and that's the same thing. People are all disappointed and they walk away with their shoulders sunken and going, oh, I've been deceived. So the modern day fountain of youth, the elixir of long life, is simply by guarding your tongue. So I'm sure now you're pretty glad that you've clicked on this video. Because at the very least, you can show the Almighty in your judgment that you have spent some time trying to learn about this subject. Okay, if you study only the general rules without learning the details, you don't know what to do when real cases come up. This is especially true in matters of Lashon Hara. All kinds of excuses and alibis present themselves. You might come to say, well, this isn't Lashon Hara, or on that person, it is a mitzvah to say Lashon Hara. The more details you learn, the better. There are very many opportunities for people to mislead themselves and to stumble in serious sins because they never studied the details. So on occasion, you may have two people who are trying to be Torah observant, or maybe they're just sort of starting out, and they'll be having a conversation together, perhaps over the phone, and they will be talking about a third person and begin to speak disparagingly about that person. And oftentimes one of them will pause and say, this is probably Lashon Hara, but, I might be speaking Lashon Hara, but I think this is important, And so by simply sort of acknowledging it in the course of the conversation, people think that they're kind of off the hook for speaking Lashon Hara. But the idea is that you stop and change the subject and talk about something else. And on other occasions, which I've done myself, is that we will say it's a mitzvah to speak Lashon Hara about this person because they are apikorsum, they are a heretic. But the only problem is if you start doing that, you'll notice that becomes the main topic that you talk about all the time. So if you become, if you allow yourself to enter into slander or ridicule of somebody who is a wicked person, who is an evil person, and you do it sort of quite a few times, you'll find that you'll end up doing it a lot, and you'll become quite proficient and quick-witted in really sort of hammering these people, so to speak, and there'll come a time where you might do it to somebody that isn't a wicked person, isn't a danger to the public. So you have to be very careful, even though, it is a mitzvah to occasionally ridicule, somebody who's an idol worshipper or something like that, or somebody who is, a false prophet or anything. But don't do it often, and don't look to do it, and certainly don't become comfortable with it, because you'll find you'll go down a path where will be your thing. And it's only a matter of time before you will ridicule or slander somebody who is actually a righteous person, or at least more righteous than you. So don't make something that is a feature of your conversation, a regular feature of your conversation, and try to stick on topics that are between you and the person that you're speaking about. If you, the lead-ins to a person's death are, how is so-and-so? Have you heard from so-and-so? Or how's he doing? That is generally the actually spinning of the chamber of the playing the game of Russian roulette. When you're in a conversation, you say, oh, how is Henry? I haven't seen Henry for a while. How is he going? Last I heard he was having a hard time. Oh yeah, Henry, didn't you hear about him? Bang, okay, click, that's the first click. And it's only a matter of time before that bullet in the chamber finds you. So you just want to be, so if you look at it like that, you're really going to clean up a lot of the things that you say. You're going to speak less flippantly. You're going to be more focused and more thought. You're going to be thinking a lot more before things come out of your mouth, which is a really great place to be in, to just start to become a lot more thoughtful about the things that you say. And that means that the things you do say will carry so much more weight. Rabbi Avigdor Miller says, that's a very remarkable statement. Let me just go back a sentence or two. In a statement already quoted, the sages of blessed memory made the following decree: everyone stumbles in something that resembles Lashon Hara. And that is a quote from Tractate Bava Basra 165a from the Gemara. Sorry, I skipped a bit there. Rabbi Avigdor Miller says, that's a very remarkable statement. To say that everyone is guilty implies it's almost impossible, unless you're very, very careful, to avoid some form of Lashon Hara. That's how widely applicable this subject is. Now the Mesillat Yesharim says, and the sages said, according to Tractate Arokin 15b to 16a from the Gemara, what is called the dust of Lashon Hara. Now the dust of Lashon Hara, that's an interesting subject. I love hearing about that subject. The dust of Lashon Hara. In Hebrew, it's havok Lashon Hara, the dust of Lashon Hara. So it's a very subtle form of Lashon Hara. And there's an example here, like one who says, where can you find fire? Except in the house of so-and-so. So somebody is, back in the day, when there was no electricity, sometimes people needed to transfer flame. Sometimes it might be late in the evening. Maybe you have elderly people at your home, or very young children or babies, and they need to have a bottle warmed, or they need to have some warmth. There needs to be some warmth in the house. And maybe you don't have kindling, and so you've take a sort of a wheelbarrow, and you're looking for somebody who's got a fire already going, or something. Maybe you want to cook something or something like that, and you need it sort of in a hurry. And so in this particular case, one individual goes to this person's house asking where he can find a fire. Maybe perhaps it's late at night. And he says, the only place you'll find a fire at this time is at so-and-so's house, because he's so, as if to imply, he's so wealthy, he can burn a fire all night long and keep his home warm, or he can cook and bake at any hour of the night. So there's the implication there that he is absolutely loaded. And that's not said in an admirable way. It's not said in an affectionate way. It's said in a way of sort of jealousy. And so this is an example of havok Lashon Hara. This refers to statements that resemble Lashon Hara, but are not actually Lashon Hara. In the olden days, people wanted to take fire from someone else's fireplace, and in this example, the person said, why come to me? I rarely make a fire. Go to so-and-so, he's always cooking or baking, implying that so-and-so is a lavish person who's always spending money buying food to cook and bake. So we want to avoid even the very dust of Lashon Hara. And sometimes we'll do it in a phone call. We'll kind of just make a statement, so you say somebody looks like they're very, they're well off, oh yeah, they're really well off, implying that, whatever tithing they're doing isn't really reflective on what their income is. So there's an implication that these people are kind of, not really committed. So be really careful. I know it's the Yetzer Hara is very sort of taunts you to just say it, and it feels good when you say it. You just let it out there. But do everything you can in your power to just avoid, even if your inner monologue is still cycling through all these negative thoughts, it'll have to start through your verbal refrainment, and then your internal monologue will follow suit. But it'll take time. It'll take time to do that. So start with actually refraining from, getting into these conversations that can be quite dangerous. And then over time, if you do it long enough, your internal monologue will also quieten down. Or speaking about a person's good qualities in the presence of his enemies. So you have to be very careful when you're publicly say compliments about an individual, because this may draw another person to feel that they've been unjustly praised publicly because they've done this and this and this, and you have actually done not as many bad things as them. How come you're not getting the recognition? So be very wary about publicly giving somebody praise, because invariably you'll have people in the audience say, "Oh, those two are always best buddies." You know what I mean? So you're just setting up things that just don't need to be there. Enemies will offer rebuttals saying, but, therefore praising the person invites the enemy's Lashon Hara. That's why you have to be careful not to praise anyone unless in the presence of very good people. So obviously if you're in the presence of people that are just pristine in terms of their character and their ethics, and they're really spot on, okay, there's no problem there. Everybody's going to be really happy for the person that's been praised publicly. That's going to give them joy. They're going to have like the attitude of Aaron when Moshe was appointed to deliver the nation of Israel out of Mitzrayim. Aaron, in his the farthest most depths of his heart, was genuinely happy that Moshe had that role. There was nothing in him saying, "Oh, I should be." No, it was like he got it. That's how happy Aaron was. If in the presence of people have the attitude of Aaron, okay, but likely is you're not. Maybe majority are, but maybe there are some that are. So just avoid it. Just avoid doing it. I know you want to make the person feel good and you want to do something, just tell them on their own. Just tell them, take them somewhere private and go, I'm really proud of you. You're really a good, you're really encouraging me. Yeah, and I want to let you know. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's fine. Ordinary listeners will start arguing and bring up faults. This wouldn't apply if you speak about a famous Tzaddik of many generations ago. You could praise Rabbi Akiva, and most likely nobody would speak up to criticize him. But be careful if you want to speak about a contemporary Rosh Yeshiva or a Hasidic Rebbe, because it's more likely that somebody might speak up and try to refute your words. And I did have this happen. I had a leader of a congregation publicly give me a little bit of praise, and some guy spoke up and said, I don't know whether it was actually over Zoom or if it was actually in the shul. And later on we spoke about it, and he confessed, I shouldn't have done that. That's all right. We'll live, we all learn. Hopefully. The Mesillat Yesharim says, and all similar things, even though they seem to be light matters that are remote from Rechilut, actually they belong to the dust of Lashon Hara. To sum up, there are many paths for the Yetzer Hara. There are many paths for the evil inclination in the area of Rechilut and Lashon Hara. There's so many options that it can do. And so by cutting down the amount of things that you say and thinking very carefully about before you speak, you are starving the Yetzer Hara, you are starving your evil inclination from sustenance and actual ammunition to draw from its wide arsenal, its wide array of ammunition, if you limit how much you speak. Be thoughtful about what you say. Sometimes it is important to maybe say something quite witty to make somebody laugh, to just break the ice. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you can't sort of say funny things and things like that, but you don't want to have that to be your pervasive attitude. Like with my children, I struggle with the fact that I always want to make them laugh. I always want to make them happy. I always want to put a smile on their face. But I've got to balance that with being a disciplined father and showing them, where I draw the line, and that they have to be different from the average individual. They have to really show that there's something about them that separates them from the norm. And Baruch Hashem, I got some news recently that my son got an award, he got it presented to him publicly at his school for saying thank you every time he saying thank you to the teachers after a lesson, and that's the best news I've ever had. You might think, oh, that's nothing. Why is he getting an award for that? What a frivolous award. But I just thought it was amazing that just the mere act of him always saying thank you to the teacher when he left the class at the end of the period, at the end of the session, this stuck and resonated with quite a few of the teachers there, that they wanted to reward him by the simple act of saying thank you at the end of every class. And that, I'm probably done many things wrong as a parent, but that shows me that there's at least maybe one thing I've got right. And so I was very proud when I heard that he'd done that. Very proud indeed. If you're watching this, Joshua, I'm extremely proud of you. Keep it up. But it's just amazing because it's just a very little thing. It's not like he, topped the class in algebra, or in sort of socio-politics, or did a huge essay. It's just a simple little thing, but it has so much impact. It just simply to say thank you, because that's the thing. Like, it's gratitude. You're having gratitude. Anyway, that's enough about my son. And all similar things, even though they seem to be light matters, they're remote from Rechilut. Actually, they belong to the dust of Lashon Hara. We've already read that. The Hara's got many paths. Yes, we read that. If he cannot attack you from one direction, he'll try a different direction. Now, this is what the Hara does very well. If he finds that he has an impasse in one place, he will move to another position and he'll find an inroad from that position. And this is one of the things we can learn from the Hara, that if he finds that this way is blocked, then re-scuttle your plans, shift yourself to another position and try that path. And the Hara is never discouraged it never lets out a sigh when there's an inroad that's blocked. It simply just moves to another position without complaint, without throwing its arms up in the air. It just quietly moves to another position to find the inroad. And in that regard, we can learn from the Hara. So when you are trying to be a holy person, when you're trying to be a righteous person, and you don't have success, then try something else. Try a different angle, try a different approach, and see, what are the different things that I can do to get this run on the board, to get this win. And so we can learn from our evil inclination many things, and the way it tirelessly attacks us and does it with alacrity. It does it early, it does it swiftly, it does it deliberately. It's the quiet achiever. It just keeps coming. And so we become like that. We just keep coming in terms of our learning, in terms of our incorporating that learning. And we're never discouraged when we fail. We just get back up, dust ourselves off, and we go again. Maybe we have to slightly tweak the way we did it the time before, but we just keep going. The Mesillat Yesharim says, but anything that could result in some harm or in some form of disgrace to someone, whether in their presence or not in their presence, is included in Lashon Hara, which is hated and abominated by Hashem. Wow. Rabbi Avigdor says, this rule should always be kept in mind. When you say something, be careful to weigh its results. So just think about what is the impact of what you're going to say, what is it going to have? Can it cause any harm? Would it cause him displeasure if he heard it? If you're speaking about somebody to somebody else, if they knew what you were talking about, would that upset them? If the answer is yes, or if the answer was mildly, that it'd kind of throw them off their feet a little bit, then you know what the answer is. Don't say it. Don't engage in it. If it helps, think about the fact that everybody that you speak about behind their back, they'll eventually be shown the video of that encounter in their judgment. I'm obviously not going to put a VCR in a video player and go, here's what we recorded. But you know what I mean. So they're eventually going to see or hear what it is that was said about them in some way, shape, or form. So maybe that'll help you to curtail what you say. The sages said about it, anyone who speaks Lashon Hara is as if he desired the presence of Hashem. So when you speak Lashon Hara about somebody, you have been overcome by insanity, in a sense, and you are suspending everything that you hold dear into the void, because you're essentially saying to yourself, well, yeah, I believe in all this stuff. I believe in the Torah, but at this moment, I just want to do my own thing. And so you're suspending reality for the duration of that whole occasion that you are engaged in the Lashon Hara. And so you are, in effect, you're betraying yourself and what you stand for. And, it's so therefore Hashem says, well, listen, I can't have fellowship with you, because though you are about this stuff, you so constantly and frequently you just shift. And so I can't. It's like if I go on a journey with somebody who at any time could just flip and then stab me in the back. It's not safe for me to go on a journey with you. So Rabbi Avigdor Miller says, if you were speaking in the presence of someone whom you respect, you would guard your tongue and be careful. Speaking freely, saying whatever you wish, is a sign that you don't feel that anyone is watching or listening to you. And so and that's a big one. So if you do have this sort of thing where you will just launch into something that's completely against your code of conduct and your ideology, you're in a moment convincing yourself. That's why I call it insanity, and I don't call it that. That's what the sages say. It's an episode of insanity. You are launching into and flipping into the belief that Hashem isn't privy to what you're saying right now, and then you finish saying it, and then boom, bang, you flip back into I'm a Hashem pleaser. So you're kind of, you're like this assassin that goes from one reality to the other and pops back in. And so that's why Hashem can't have any sort of, he can't be around that. And the verse states in Tehillim 101:5, he who speaks with his tongue secretly against his fellow man, him I will cut off. So there you go. There's your scriptural support for that. It's from Psalm 101:5. Hashem will make his life shorter. From these last words, we understand that if you keep Hashem in mind at all times, it will be effective in preventing you from this sin. So by keeping Hashem in the forefront of your mind and maybe visualizing the tetragrammaton, the Yod He Vav He, in front of you physically, so that it's a form that you can see the tetragrammaton name. It's a very safe way to live your life. It's a very sobering way to live your life, because you constantly have the thought of Hashem, in your mind. So you're less likely to say something or do something or go somewhere or look at something that he wouldn't approve of. And that's you're right. Essentially, Yirat Shamayim. That's fear of heaven. We can add an additional idea. If you imagine that the person about whom you're speaking was present, what would his reaction be to your words? That is also an effective deterrent. So when Yosef HaZedek was seduced by Potiphar's wife, she was a very beautiful woman, and the Jewish writings say that she would change her clothes constantly and walk around the residence, the estate, quite suggestively, and deliberately put Yosef in compromising situations to lead him to be tempted to be with her. And he did find her attractive. There was no doubt whatsoever, and she was attractive. And he would have gone with her, looking at it from his standpoint without the benefit of 20/20 of hindsight. This guy, he's in a position in life where things have gone from bad to worse. No one would really blame him for going with her, with the events as they unfolded in his life up to that point, of just continually going from bad to worse. And he was about to be with her, but he saw the vision of his father. He actually saw his father there, physically there. And so over time, his piety and his devotion to the Torah that had been instilled in him from such a young age enabled him to be able to manifest the form of his own father, to be physically present. He wasn't present, but an image of his father was able to manifest in front of him that looked real enough for him to run away, and even she held on to his garments, his clothes, that he managed to rip out of those clothes to run. That wasn't, because that should have sort of slowed him down a little bit, but he just, it's like when a dog attacks you and he's got your jacket, and you just let your jacket fall down your arm, and the dog's got the jacket and he's happy with that, and you run. And so this is it. We develop a picture in our minds of somebody. If it's not our father, if we didn't have a righteous father, then we have somebody that we look up to in the Torah world. Maybe it's somebody you've never met. Maybe it's somebody you listen to online that is just an amazing individual, a very pious individual. You can just tell they've been given endorsements from the Orthodox Jewish world. So it's not somebody that can deceive you over the web by portraying something that is over the web that isn't in real life. And you can just begin to picture and imagine him being present with you if you feel a temptation to go off into a particular avenue of sin, whether it be speech or whatever it is. I think we'll leave it there. We'll keep this video short. The next subject is part 30 of chapter 11, hatred and revenge. Hatred and revenge. That looks very interesting. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you got a little bit out of this video. And until next time, bye for now.